This is the Media Police post from the Fort Hall School of Government. In this show, we police the state of truth in the Republic. And because truth is communicated to us by journalists and analysts, we have made it our civic duty to put it to the test. We advance from two confirmed truths about the media. One, and in the words of Roger Stone, the media is either lazy or evil, and for the most part, it is both evil and lazy. And that is why the truth, their truth, must be put to a test. Two, another confirmed truth is that journalism is verified gossip. In fact, what is presented to us as news analysis is gossip that has been verified by journalists. This gossip has to be ground-truthed. We will monitor columnists, we will assess the state of truth in what they submit to the Republic, and we will pass verdict on what is true and what is not. For the record, we are not journalists, we are thinkers. We are not lazy or evil, and we do not verify gossip. What we give you is the truth, the truth that sets you free. On today's show, we will discuss either our favorite columns of last week or columns which reflect unformed and uninformed opinions, and columns that made you stupid. These are columns that either fell into the cognitive trap of we see things as we are, not as they are, or that they're based on conjuncture history. And lastly, ones that smack of envelope journalism. Welcome, Ms. K and CS. What are we reviewing today?
Asante. Now, there are some questions that have been at the back of my mind that have been bothering me. Na leo nataka kufungua roho.
Hey, go.
Ever since November of last year, since Paul Gicheru surrendered to the ICC, there's been an article on the ICC almost every other week. My first question is this. Is there a possibility that the International Criminal Court at The Hague is not yet quite done with Deputy President William Ruto's case? Consider this. On 5th April 2016, the ICC decided by majority decision to suspend the case against Ruto. But according to the court, the decision did not mean that the case could not be prosecuted at the ICC in future. Why is this? The court declared that there was a mistrial because of witness interference and witness intimidation due to political meddling. The court did not acquit William Ruto. In fact, one of the judges concluded that there was sufficient evidence for a reasonable trial chamber to convict him and that the case should proceed. In sum, the ICC did not find him innocent. Ruto's case was simply frozen in time. As that marinates at the back of your minds, let's ask another question. Is the surrender of lawyer Paul Gicheru to The Hague what will cause William Ruto's ICC case to come unfrozen? In November last year, Kenyan lawyer Paul Gicheru surrendered to the ICC. He had been a wanted man by the ICC since March 2015, accused of leading efforts to tamper with witnesses in the case against William Ruto. Remember, this was the main reason why there was a mistrial in the Ruto case. The reason why Ruto's case was frozen in time. So, if that is the case, a reasonable person might ask, what will it mean for Ruto if Paul Gicheru is found guilty? And as you ponder that, consider this. The volume of evidence that the ICC prosecutor has put together seems monumental. As of January of this year, 309 items of evidence had been submitted to the court. As if that wasn't enough, the prosecution asked the court to permit it to exceed the set limit of pages for submitting documents containing charges from 120 to 175. Prosecution said that they have details and elaborate explanations demonstrating how Paul Gicheru interfered with witnesses, how this was done over several months, and how there were many other people involved. I can't help but wonder, is it possible, if we are to use simple logic, that the prosecution can have so much evidence against Paul Gicheru, who was accused of witness tampering and interference in the Ruto case, and that this will not have no impact on the Ruto case that was frozen in time, and where one of the judges already said that there was sufficient evidence to convict him? Maybe we can look to history to guide us. Is there a precedent? Congo, Jean-Pierre Bemba. Just like Ruto, he was charged with crimes against humanity at the ICC. And similar to Ruto's case, a mistrial was declared. But eventually, Jean-Pierre Bemba was found guilty and convicted under Article 70 of the Rome Statute, which deals with offenses against the administration of justice, which includes witness tampering and interference. Ring a bell? And guess what? Jean-Pierre Bemba also used lawyers who were also charged at the ICC and found guilty of interfering with and influences witnesses during Bemba's initial trial for crimes against humanity, resulting in a mistrial. The question that then follows is this: if Paul Gicheru is found guilty of interfering with witnesses in Ruto's ICC case, contrary to Article 70 of the Rome Statute, is it not reasonable to expect that William Ruto, just like Jean-Pierre Bemba, will have a case to answer? And by the way, these would add to the already long laundry list of grounds for impeaching the deputy president. Here's my parting shot. Interestingly, just like Ruto, Jean-Pierre Bemba was also a vice president. And Bemba, just like Ruto, tried to run for president. But in Congo, the electoral authorities and the courts barred his presidential candidacy due to the ICC witness tampering and interference conviction. Tafakari hayo. Dalili ya mvua, mawingu.
Wow, strong words there.
Strong words, but also a lot to think about.
Yeah, so pay attention to what's happening with the ICC.
Even when it's hidden in the back pages of your newspapers.
Exactly.
Today I'd like to take a different turn. I'd like to talk a little bit about Tanzania and what's going on there. In fact, it's said that Tanzanian President John Pombe Magufuli has not been seen in public for the past few weeks, and this has sparked rumors that he is ill. Now, people in Tanzania do not talk and will not talk about what is ailing their president. But because the people of Tanzania do not talk, I and my fellow Kenyans on Twitter will speak on their behalf. President Magufuli, the self-confessed COVID skeptic, I mean, you guys can remember when he tested the goat and the papaya for COVID and they tested positive, is receiving treatment in India for COVID-19 after a short stopover at Nairobi Hospital, and it is said that his condition is critical. But these are not my words. These are the words of the Tanzanian opposition leader Tundu Lissu. Via Twitter, he tweeted, and I quote, "Latest update from Nairobi. The man who declared victory over Corona was transferred to India this afternoon. Kenyans don't want the embarrassment if the worst happens in Kenya. His COVID denialism in tatters, his prayer over science folly has turned into a deadly boomerang." So the question Tundu Lissu and many others are asking is, why the secrecy? And let me attempt an answer. On the health of presidents, history is replete with stories of secrets and lies. To the question, is the president sick or dying? The answer is always deny, 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 even when the truth is revealed. And you must hide the truth from the public out of political calculation. A leader should always appear strong and in control. But Magufuli would not be the first head of state to hide the true state of his health. US President Franklin Roosevelt hid his paralysis, and John F. Kennedy hid his dependence on steroids. In the end, the head of state is only human. 65% water, 35% muscle and sinew. And this is a fact of law. That is why a good constitution specifies the procedures for replacing the president in the event of death, removal, resignation, or incapacitation. And in Kenya, our current constitution says that if the office of the president becomes vacant, the deputy president assumes office as president for the remainder of the term. Under our previous constitution, if the office of the president became vacant, a new president was elected within 90 days. And during that period, the vice president exercised presidential functions. This is what happened when Jomo Kenyatta died in 1978. Moi took over. So what are the next steps in Tanzania if, in the words of Lissu, the worst were to happen? In Tanzania, if the office of the president becomes vacant, according to their constitution, the vice president is sworn in and becomes president for the unexpired period of the term. Just so you're clear, they just had an election. There's 4 years to go. So the Tanzanian vice president is Samia Suluhu. If the worst were to happen, Tanzania would have its first woman president. Let me leave you to think on that for a little bit.
That is fantastic. Well, if it happens, a woman president is always a step in the right direction.
I know, but I'm very confused. I don't think that his own succession was Magufuli's thought when he put her as his VP, but yes. I think there could be a silver lining here. I don't know.
There we go. So today I want to address Kenya's move to pull its case with the Somalia maritime border dispute at the ICJ, the International Court of Justice. So they were to appear today in court. So it'll be a blank table where Kenya is supposed to be. And I applaud that Uhuru Kenyatta has finally told the ICJ to go home. The sovereignty of Kenya cannot be challenged. But Kenya is not alone in turning her back on the ICJ, because the ICJ is designed to look strong, but is in fact weak. Many of their decisions are not respected. America, Russia, France, China have all said no to ICJ. The court simply has no enforcement powers. But there's some context that led to Kenya's decision. One, historically, the ICJ only intervenes when both parties agree. But Kenya had issued a reservation rejecting the authority of the ICJ and requested other options of arbitration with Somalia. But this was ignored by the court, and Kenya was forced into these proceedings. Kenya has maintained a preference for arbitration. This is no surprise, as Kenya has long been a friend to Somalia. Yet Somalia chose a diplomatically aggressive option. Two, Kenya's boundary claim is old and historical. Kenya's claim dates back to 1924. Somalia's claim began in 2014 when, Somalia filed at the ICJ. So according to the principle uti possidetis juris, did I say that right, Ziaz? Countries are to observe and maintain the borders that existed at the time of independence. So Kenya is adhering to international practice when it comes to how it's seeing this border dispute. And for Kenya, the boundary is clear. It lies parallel to the line of latitude from where our border meets Somalia's. The boundary goes horizontal. But Somalia disagrees. They consider the boundary to exist diagonally. Kenya has maintained ownership over this area since President Moi proclaimed the zone in 1979. And then under Kibaki in 2009, an MOU was drafted establishing the extent of the exclusive economic zone. So this narrow triangle under dispute is home to a large amount of natural oil and gas reserves. And one block in this area is said to hold up to 5 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. And that can provide about 2.5% of the global demand for natural gas by 2040. So you can see what's at stake. But we cannot ignore the presence of foreign countries in the shadows. The 2000 MOU was drafted by Norway, and some oil blocks are already said to have been allocated to various international companies. With this, we must ask, are Kenya and Somalia the only interested parties involved in this dispute? So even without Kenya presenting its case today, Somalia will present itself. If the ICJ rules in Somalia's favor, it could set in motion a number of maritime disputes on the continent. For instance, Kenya could start one with Tanzania over its southern maritime border. Tanzania could then start one with Mozambique over its southern border, and this could go all the way down to South Africa. So Kenya should not cede an inch to anyone. I firmly believe.
In fact, the only way to change Kenya's boundaries is by changing the constitution of Kenya.
Yeah, there you go.
Not through the ICJ.
There you go.
I do like that. And in fact, I should think that we should make friends now with every president, all the way down, including any future presidents of Tanzania.
I like that. I like that. Because actually, Somalia and TZ had tried to negotiate a border without us, which would have effectively made us landlocked.
And we have a whole ocean, and there's a whole country between the two of them that was acting in bad faith, if I ever saw that.
There you go. Well, thank you for joining us on Media Police Post. Columnists, join us next week. We're putting you on notice.
God bless.